right, 25 minutes past 9 is the time. Welcome back. This is the Unique Breakfast Drive. It's live on Unique 95.7 megahertz of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. We are live on the internet at gbcghanaonline.com. We're going to move into our next conversation. As I've mentioned earlier, it's got to do with coaching. Whether you're running a setup or managing a growing enterprise, coaching can be the game changer for you that helps you move from vision to manifestation, from clarifying goals to unlocking team potential. Coaching provides that kind of structure and the support and strategy needed to thrive. And this morning, our guest has joined us for us to have that conversation. And in today's fast evolving Ghanaian economy, we need that visionary leaders who can actually think long term, make wise decisions, and drive sustainable growth. And coaching also provides some of these things for all of us to look into it. My guest is Scofray Nanayao Yeboah. He's a transformational coach with Becker Africa. He's the president of ICF Ghana chapter, chief executive officer of Zoe Global Consult, and Ghana's first master certified coach. He's a big man, and he's joined us here. Scofray, good morning to you.
George, good morning. Nice being here with you this morning.
Good seeing you. How are things? How have you been? What the
warm. Enjoying the rains, enjoying the traffic that comes along with it.
Yeah.
And quiet. Broken also when you see what happens when the floods come up. It's a mixed bag, as we will call it.
All right. I understand that you're Ghana's first master certified coach.
Yes, somewhere last month when I successfully passed the final phase, which is an exam that every coach worth his salt in the credentialing ladder. So last month, 9th April, I successfully passed that exams, and that got me to become the first master certified coach after almost like 8 months journey on that master certified coach. So,
8 months?
Yes.
By the International Coaching Federation.
Summer last year, okay. July, that I started in pursuit of my master level. But it doesn't just start from that 8 months, because you are required to do a minimum of 2,500 hours of coaching sessions.
2,500?
Yes, 2,500 hours of coaching sessions.
Okay.
Before you can... So that is the first thing you should achieve.
Okay.
Then from there, you go into 10 hours of mentoring. We call it mentor coaching. You must also go through that. Then out of that process, you should come up with 2 session recordings or audio recordings too. That must go for assessment that indeed you coach like a master. You have gone through the mill to coach at that master level. So when you pass the 2 audios, that it takes like 3 months.
So the audio, what's the content?
No, audio is a normal coaching session between a coach and a client.
Okay.
That you ask permission of the client to send it. Because of confidential situations or matters, you need to ask permission from your clients that these 2 recordings are being sent for assessment. And every coach with your sort, you are required to be assessed or you are required to be mentored. So after the 2 audios passed, then I was given the headway to go and sit for the exams. So it's not just a walk in the park. You go through all the processes. Then, by the grace of God, I was successful with the written exams also. So yeah, Ghana has produced her first master certified coach.
Congratulations.
Thank you, George.
That's good to know. Let's start off. I mean, what's the difference between coaching, mentoring, and counseling?
Okay, thank you. It's very important that we take this opportunity to share some light on the in fact, there is even consulting as well. So this is what coaching is not. Let me take it from there. This is what coaching is not.
All right.
You see, when you look at counseling and therapy, they mostly deal with emotional, psychological challenges somebody is going through. And if you meet the clinician with his or her salt, they can even prescribe medications to support you to navigate those moments you are going through. So issues of your past, issues of things that are eating you up, that is what they deal with. The therapists, the clinicians, the psychiatrists, that is what they deal with.
Yeah.
Then with mentoring, the main focus is, like George, if somebody from GIJ comes right now and says, George, I love the way you do your presentation. Can you be my mentor? It means there is a direct access to a skill that connects the mentor and the mentee. And you use your experiences to guide and guard, advisory, everything. That is what mentoring actually is. Then consulting will be where you invite me into a situation, I audit the situation, do need assessment, need gap analysis, and say that looking at all this is the challenge and this is the solution I can profess as a consultant to support you to navigate it. And all of this is not what coaching is. Coaching is using partnership between you, the client, and the coach, form a partnership. And this is the beautiful thing. In this partnership, the coach is just in charge of the process, because that's what the coach has been trained to do, holding the space for the process. But you, the client, you are the driver of the entire journey that is going to happen. Two, we say thought-provoking, or something we call co-creation. The outcome the client desires, the coach does not dictate it, unlike the others. So, for instance, in mentoring, your mentee can come to you that, George, I intend to do ABCD. George can say, based on my experience, this won't work. It is not out of ill intention. It is out of your track record that you can put to.
Yes.
But in coaching, the coach wouldn't be the one to say this won't work. In fact, in coaching, we don't even believe in it won't work. In coaching, we believe that you are whole and capable and full of potentials, the giftings, the abilities. That if it wouldn't work, it is not because there is something wrong with you, the individual. Perhaps it is the choices that made it not to work. And even that we process the choices you made that gave you any form of outcome. Then finally, what I will also say, the difference that cut across is, we use what we call powerful questions. I remember in a presentation, and I was asked, so when you say powerful, what do you mean? Powerful question, because as we said, as we are talking, there is so much that comes up that you are not aware of. Okay. So that's so much that comes up is out of that place. I will ask you the questions. So no coach goes into a coaching session. I'm saying this, any coach worth his salt, any coach having gone through the experience and everything, you don't go into a coaching session with scripted questions.
Okay. So these powerful questions you're talking about, if you come to my space here in broadcasting or in journalism, what we call the follow-up questions. So those are questions that are actually hidden in a lot of the things that's actually going on.
So even in journalism, which I know, you have questions that is meant for radio. You have question that is content worthy for TV. But in coaching, everything can show up. Everything can show up based on the moment. So we use the term the presence. What we are sensing and feeling and observing, even what you judge. So we say what you are saying, your body language, everything, and what you are not even saying. We bring all up and push it through questions. Because, George, one of the backgrounds I come from is what we call multiple brain integration techniques, which is actually neuroscience. So neuroscience says that what George is not aware of in your body, if I give you any advice, George, it won't sit. It doesn't matter how fine the advice is. It doesn't matter. Because it is because there's nothing of that sort in your body, it won't sit. That is where coaching comes in, because the questions I keep asking you, your body or your brains goes through what we call neurogenesis. That is when new neurons grow. New neurons will grow because a question has stimulated it for it to grow. There is also what we call neurosynapses, where two neurons want to connect to give you a profound outcome. That is why coaching is very, very innovative, integrative, and an intervention.
Okay.
Because the question I'll be asking you, it's not because of what I think I know. The question I'll be asking you is in the moment. It is questions that you have not thought of. It's questions that somebody may not have even asked you before. Or the moment for you to become aware, you have not been in that space before. So this is what makes coaching one of the most profound interventions. So let's, for example, in training, when you go into normal training, you see, the facilitator facilitates, everybody is in there. You do the average, like in classroom, you do the average interest that they can get understanding. But in coaching, that session is tailored for the client. That moment is all about the client. That moment is everything for the future of the client. So we coach your moment into the future you desire.
Okay.
Or like therapy, we look at your past and bring you to the present. So most often than not, those of us in this space, we have clinicians who refer their clients to us when they are done with therapy. That at this point, it is coaching.
So in other words, from what you have said, coaching is when you, the coach, you are involved in the process.
Yes.
But the client will do the implementation.
Exactly. So the client is in charge of the progress.
Yeah.
The coach, you are in charge of the process. The client is in charge of the progress. That is why we call
you don't impose anything.
No, that is why we call it co-creation. Because the session that you come in is the process. Even before you come into the session, then knowing that on your calendar, 9 a.m., I have a session with my coach. That is the beginning of the coaching. The day before, because your body begins to galvanize, begins to, like, when we're growing up, GBC or GTV used to do Captain Planet.
Yeah.
Let our 5 powers combine.
Yeah.
So before even the day, your body begins to call your strength into place. Because you know that when you go into coaching session, something magical must occur for your good. And one of the most profound things about coaching is that the benefit is not only for the individual.
Okay, that's the client.
That's the client. The benefit is not only for the client. Because if you are a father, for instance, the quality of the person you become reflects in your fatherhood. The quality of the person you become reflects in your profession. The quality of the person you become reflects in the career path you are on. The quality of the person you become affects the people who are placed in your care, assuming you are a manager. So this is the dimensions coaching takes you into.
Okay.
And if you look at our core competencies, George, there is the deliberate need to observe your emotions. Even the ones that you are not sure you are emitting. You show it up and your question is asked about. George, I was coaching a client and a question came. Then the client started pulling the ear of a sort unconsciously. Unconsciously.
But that sends a message.
That sends a message. That is, I don't need to understand even what it is. So when the client was done, I said, let's say, for example, it's George. I'll use your name. I said, George, when this question was asked, I observed that you were playing or fidgeting with your ear. What was happening? For which reason you were fidgeting? So, wow. I wasn't aware. Then because I brought George to the awareness of fidgeting with the ear, whatever was going on in his body now was brought to the fore, and George was able to talk about, oh, this question made me feel A, B, C, D like this. It then begins to expand. That is why we say coaching is a neurological intervention. Because what was going on in the client's body is what projected in a certain way that brought him to his awareness. This is what makes coaching.
So you deal with a lot of questions.
Crazy. In the 1 hour, everything you, the client, or you, the coach, hold is in your powerful questions, your observations. listening to what even the client is not saying. I think that is what makes coaching powerful. That what even the client is not saying, you've been able to listen to it. You've been able to observe that. You've been able to be in the moment, being able to connect at a very deeper level, that you can even sense the client's sensations. So you can ask, because sometimes you ask a question that has not been shown in the body language, but you ask it and it had gone on in the client's body. So some of us, in the things we do, the deeper things we do, we call it the quantum being, where I can sense you in a deeper way that even though your body didn't show it, but your body brought it to my knowledge to ask about it, so you can become aware.
Very interesting. All right, so what's the process involved in let's say you're taking someone through a coaching process? Let's briefly touch on this theory.
Well, coaching processes will differ per who a client is.
Okay.
Coaching processes will differ to who the need of the session. So if somebody is coming, for example, executive coaching, there are forms and dimensions to know what the client expects to achieve at the end of the entire contract. Okay. So you do your discovery calls, you do what we call the chemistry sessions, the same thing. And to see, I said this thing somewhere when we went to LMI Holdings, that as a coach, I don't coach everybody.
Why?
As a client, not every coach must coach you.
Why?
Because there must be that chemistry. We call it the fit. The client and the coach must be fit for purpose for what the client needs. So that is why it's important you do what we call the discovery call, or others also call it chemistry call. That is the first point, because you have a company says, okay, GBC says, okay, we find potential in George, and as part of George's career path and professional growth, we want to sign him up for coaching with you. And per your appraiser, we notice, George has got a bit of challenge with time management. George has got a bit of, let's say, emotional intelligence. George has got a bit of this. George has got a bit of that. That is the holistic outcome. But when George comes into the chemistry session, whatever that happens there will let George feel, okay, this that I want to achieve, both on the corporate and individual level, I can work with Scofray, or I can work with that with him. So that is fundamental. Then others use series of surveys, questionnaires, tools to bring out your strengths and weaknesses. For instance, those of us in multiple brain integration techniques, we use what we call the leadership syntax test. It's a form of test that gets us to know, for example, George, in your leadership, do you lead with your head, heart, or do you lead with your heart, head, or do you lead with your gut, head? All this way of your three brains in its functioning supports the journey itself, because it gets me to ask questions from informed places because of how you have shown up. Then there are various dimensions that goes into it to serve the client better. So for if you look at how sometimes talk about leadership in this part of our world, other aspects, let's say Europe and America, those who have invested so much in coaching are yielding a lot of results, because when a leader, his or her mindset, his or her frame of looking at life, something we call worldview, frames of biases, the scales of biases get dropped. The person becomes a finer human being. So much so that your leadership changes, because in the normal sense, our leadership is command and control.
Yeah.
But command and control is for robots. It's not for human beings. So we've tried to robotize human beings, especially in our part of the world. If we don't scream, if we don't do, there are things we do. But when the leader has gone through coaching, because he or she is dealing with his ways of being, he can then want to also deal with you on the scale of your ways of being. and the results are more always profound than when it is command and control.
I'm wondering how this actually works within an organization where there are certain KPIs to meet. And you're also looking at, like you said, the ways and beings of that person too. How does that fall in sync with the organization's objective?
For example, we say KPI, let's say key performance index.
Yeah.
In the final analysis, who must perform? Is the client.
Is the client.
Is the human being.
Yes.
So if you want excellence, it means it is a way of being of the staff or the leader that produces a certain outcome, which you call key performance index. So if, for example, the person get the job done but takes a lot of time, or the person is exceptional with the skill but truant, the person can produce outcomes but has got time management challenges.
Yeah.
The person can produce outcomes, but it's at the detriment of his or her mental health. The person meets the KPIs, because there are so many companies. Let me put this across. In Ghana, the more they meet their KPIs and they go into celebration and even throw parties, 3 months down the line, they don't observe that a lot of the staff who were involved in getting that supposed measure met begin to report sick. Begin to report sick. Or they begin to see they're a bit irrational because stress have set in. Depression is floating. And because there is no coach servicing or services within the architecture of the business, they are not able to see and trace and track and realize that no, anytime we peak like this, we've observed this also things happen, because the ways of being is what get the results done.
So that means at the end of the day, there's no sustainability.
Exactly. So it becomes fluctuating.
Yes.
In other jurisdictions where they are making deep investment, recently, Microsoft won the Guinness Record Award. Recently. And it's about coaching. They are the Fortune 100 company that got over 10,000 of their workers to go through coaching.
Oh.
Ever.
Okay.
What will make such a business magnate want to invest in coaching? So, for example, if you pick any of our businesses here, if they begin to invest in coaching as an intervention for quality, effective, efficient leadership, for outcomes of KPIs and its other kinds, where it is not at the detriment of their well-being. Because you know what is interesting? We take our mental health challenges, we take it from work and take it home, or we take it home and bring it to work. So if there is no intervention that can support our leaders, the CEOs, the boards, the C-suites, the HR heads, the team leads, the supervisors, if we don't have those intervention, you realize that they should be gifted, but their performance output is always not at the maximum. And you know, sometimes because of the lack of this support, a lot of us don't live to the peak of our potential.
Yeah.
Because when we resonate to the peak of our potential, our body build that resilience and we want to do more. We want to do more. We want to do more. But if we don't break ourselves from the status quo through coaching, then our leadership looked like this. We will pride ourselves with and the company make this revenue and we clap, but if you compare it to a similar company, even the same size, and the revenue they are making in certain market orientation, then you realize that yours is still as minute as it is in the larger perspective.
Okay.
So this is where coaching comes in, when you want to look at the ways of being and the KPIs.
Okay. All right. So at least within every aspect of our lives, we can apply coaching in there. Every aspect. From the home to the office to even our personal lives. Everything.
Everywhere. Because there are coaches who have built track record. So we call it niche. So there are coaches who do family coaching.
Okay.
There are coaches
and it's different from counseling.
It's different.
From therapy.
It is the coaching architecture. So it's just like those who go to study medicine.
Yes.
That is the basis for your specialty, right? Because without the basic, you cannot specialize in pediatrics, you cannot specialize in this and that and that. It's the same thing. Every coach first going to become a life coach. That is what your training gives to you. That is the skill, the tool, everything that you get. Then per all of us, our talent, our capabilities, and our giftings, it gets us to veer into the other dimensions of, okay, I am a transformational executive coach. So I do executive and leadership coaching. We do, at Becker Africa, for instance, currently we are the first partnership, Zoe Global Consult and Becker Africa have partnered to start the first ever ICF accredited level 1 coach training.
Oh, okay.
We didn't used to have any coaching school in Ghana. We didn't used to have any coaching training in Ghana. But this is the first time that the two entities have partnered to start ICF accredited level 1 coaching. That sets you on the pathway to what we call credentialing. What I have become MCC of. I started as ACC. So ACC, PCC, MCC. So the first ever where two entities or an entity is giving out training that set professional coaches on the path of credentialing. This is the first of its kind. So until we allow coaching become accessible in this country for our leaders, we are not going anywhere. You see, it's some
but
of the results.
Is it something we are used to in this part of the world?
No,
is it something we appreciate?
Coaching, okay, in two dimensions. Coaching in its professional grounding.
Yeah.
It's so new. It's so new. But coaching in its traditional grounding is ancient.
Okay.
You know, that is how come in certain jurisdictions when we're growing up, those of us have opportunity to live in the villages here and there. There are moments where they'll say, let's go and ask the old lady.
Yeah.
Let's go and ask the old lady. So if you meet an old lady who have lived life, after you tell your story, the old lady will begin to ask you, so let's say, George, you want to get married. If you meet the old lady, she will ask, which family does this girl come from? You respond. Who is the father and mother? You respond. And you notice that out of the experience that they are asking you all this. So that is the traditional ancient of coaching. And if you check, not everybody you want to go to for example, to discuss issues pertaining to your life. It's the same thing in the current professionally structured science-based coaching, where when you meet a coach, your life needs to shift in a certain dimension or variation. So it is, I mean, look at Ghana. In the South-West African region, we have only 2 chapters. Nigeria chapter was the first in West Africa. They are only 10 years old. 10.
Okay, 10 years. Yeah.
Ghana chapter will be 2 years old in August. Just imagine. And as the global market, ICF is celebrating 30 years. We are doing 2 years.
2 years.
Nigeria is even doing 10 years. But the beauty of it is not about the number of years and speed. It's about the quality of the coaches that are emerging from the SAP region. It's about the quality of coaches, because currently Ghana has got over 15 credential coaches.
Yeah, okay.
Over 15 ACC, PCC,
15.
And we have 1 MCC.
Is it 15? 1-5.
1-5. We have 50 because we have almost about 55 chapter members. Just in 2 years, we are growing in that dimension. It's not even about speed. It's about the quality. So coaching is new. But every HR head, every L&D, professional L&D, professional HR knows about coaching. Knows. Even if he or she does not have so much grip on what coaching is. Because the exams we all write in human resource Armstrong, whether it is edition 14, whether edition 13, edition, whatever edition, at least the latest editions, you go and find coaching and mentoring in there. It's there.
Okay, all right. Time. When you move into an organization, what are some of the things you look out for before you realize that no, this organization lacks coaching?
You observe from, let's say, how HR, the CEO, presents the organization.
Okay.
Whether they are people-driven or they are outcome-driven. Those are some of the dimensions you have to look out for. 2, you also want to listen differently how they talk about even their business. You want to listen differently how they talk and address challenges that come. In some companies or in some businesses, you hear that every challenge in their business, they personalize it. Somebody needs to be blamed. They personalize it. So challenges have been given human names. Those are blockades for companies to flourish. So then, or sometimes even retention, the turnovers, the number of time people leave. For instance, the Microsoft story I was saying, because of coaching, attrition has reduced by 30%. Then what they call internal
attrition is the number of people
who leave.
Okay, they've reduced by 30%.
30%
because of coaching.
Because of coaching.
Okay.
So imagine.
So if the attrition is high, there's a problem with coaching.
Exactly.
Okay.
When attrition is high, that it means that there is something challenging in the company. And when coaching entered out of Microsoft, it has decreased by 30%. And guess what? It gives you a return on investment also. Because if 30%, that means you're not hiring new people, new salary challenges, so you save money. Then one of the things that work for them is 70% internal mobility, meaning maybe there is an opening for, let's say, radio. You work in GBC.
Yes.
Quickly put in and apply. Okay, I want to be the host of this particular show. Because of your competence, capacity, everything that has been shot up through coaching, they assess you and you fit. So it means that you don't need to hire people from outside to come and fix into positions. You find them within because you have tooled them right. And coaching has got them to navigate. This is what Baka Africa is inching to do. This is what the Way Global Consult Partnership is inching to do, so that companies in this country or in our sub-region can take advantage of the benefit coaching brings. So there's something we call coaching culture or coaching organization, where we establish a bit of internal coaches in tandem with external coaches, support from HR, support from L&D, support from the C-suite.
What's L&D?
Learning and development.
Learning and development, okay.
Support from there, so that ideally every manager must have a coach or have been coached before. Every manager must have a coach or might have been
Same
coached
for
before.
CEOs too.
Same for CEOs. Because the statistics says that a company that invests in coaching, the return of investment is 800%.
800%. Wow.
Okay. The benefit to the clients, your managers, is 77%. The benefit to the business is over 50%. That is team cohesion and everything. So companies or businesses that deliberately invest in coaching, we are now saying the return on magic, because that is what coaching brings to the business. It brings clarity of emotionality. It brings effective communication. It brings a world view to how you'd consider challenges in the business. It boosts creativity. It boosts creativity. I will not emphasize it less. It boosts creativity. We all know the dispensation of the era where we are looking at creativity. It boosts compassion, because the command control leadership has become obsolete. It is not producing results. That's why we think we have problems with the Gen Zs and the Gen Alpha. It's because the way they need navigation, command control won't work
for them. That's right. We don't have the generational intelligence.
No. The compassionate leadership, as we call it, or authentic leadership. Others will call it transformational leadership, is what is required to bridge about 4 generations in one business. The leader himself or herself does not even know that all of these have got their pros and cons. But until you are in the space of transformational or authentic leadership, you cannot bridge all these 4 generations. This is the magic coaching brings to the pool.
Okay.
And like you, the individual, the way you want to invest in going to school for your master's, PhD, at the individual level, you will also need to invest in coaching like that.
Nana, you know what we're going to do? We're going to end our conversation here for today. Hopefully, if you have time, next week we can continue. My producer is saying that next week they actually continue to look at other.
So let's see the outcome then.
You've just used coaching on me right now. All right, but just a quick one before we can wrap up. You talked about when you move into the organization, you looked at two things: whether they are people driven or outcome driven. Yeah. Which is the best, people or outcome? People
get the job done.
Okay. But what about outcome?
The outcome impede the well-being because you don't care about what the people care about. You don't care about the people's mental health. You don't care about people's well-being. All that you want is the numbers.
Is the numbers.
And when you get the numbers, they say healthcare will eat what you have accrued.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Have a good day. I've enjoyed talking to you. I hope that we can continue this
George,
next week. All right. So that's it for today's edition of the show. We're just calling it a day here for the UBD. We'll go to the newsroom for the news in brief at 10. And after that, Kwame will take over the mid-morning affair. Thanks to Kosa. Thanks to Fusena. Thanks to Nanayao. And then to Sewa. And to a lovely interns here who are part of the show. My name is George Ni Donusapa. We'll be back tomorrow with another edition of the show. Have a good day. Enjoy the rest of our programs. It's 10 o'clock. Bye-bye. We are out.